to the Friendly Show, Annabel.
Thank you so much for having me, Elaine. I am honoured to be on the Friendly Show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to have you here for a chat because, first of all, I miss you so much. Like, how have you been?
Elaine, I miss you too. Yeah, it's been, well, I am having a great week. I was just actually reflecting this with my coaching partner, which we can get into. So I'm celebrating a great week, and we should celebrate great weeks.
Love this for you. Such a Friday vibe that you're bringing that I didn't expect. How lucky am I? So, for anyone out there who is crazy enough to watch this on YouTube or wherever you pick it up, Annabel was my manager, well, for a long time. And it wasn't just me sitting opposite you in the newsroom whilst being on your team. It was sort of like a bird's eye view for me to watch you train through journalists after journalists and just flourish their career. And we're talking about taking them from intern level to executive producer for some of the world's biggest news shows that you will find on your television today. But I want to turn to you because I think that's very important. You've gone ahead and left the newsroom and you've done just something really cool lately. And I'm so proud of you for that. So that's why I really want to talk to you. I mean, why don't you just go ahead and tell us what you just launched?
Well, thank you, Elaine. I'm, by the way, super proud of you and everything you've achieved since leaving CNN. So right back at you. Yeah, so I left CNN at the end of 2023. I'd been there for 15 years and really loved it. I had such a great career there. I loved the colleagues I worked with. I had great bosses, mentors, and really kind of moved up the news production ladder. So I joined CNN as a writer. I then became a producer, senior producer, and then an executive editor, working with Christiane Amanpour and her team and leading the team as executive editor for 6 years. It was really a wild ride and we covered just some phenomenal stories, really important stories. And I just felt very privileged working there and working with you and everyone else. Super smart people, funny people, people who energized me. I had a great time, but I guess when you're ready for a new chapter and, the job at CNN was really quite full on. I just got to the point where I felt like I wanted to see what else was out there and try something new and delve into more of my strength and more of what I loved. I took the plunge of quitting my job and I didn't have another job, which felt a bit crazy and mad.
So Gen Z of you.
So Gen Z of me, right? Yeah, all of my generation were like, what on earth are you doing?
I think if you feel something there, you've got to go for it.
You've got to go for it. And I felt very much like it was the right decision. And I wanted to explore what was next. And so I left and really I spent a whole year really kind of putting together my next chapter. And and here I am living my next chapter and it feels really great.
What is the next chapter? Give us a little peek into that. Oh, and before you start on that, I just want to remind people, working for a newsroom is one thing. Working for Christiane Amanpour, who is the baddest woman in journalism world, she comes to work every day doing right, doing good, and you have to keep up with that. You really have to be on the right side of humanity to be on her team, I would say. So 6 years on that is incredible. So next chapter, go on.
Oh, thank you. So next chapter. So I am a communications and media consultant. I am a coach and I'm also a university lecturer. So I have this trio of things I do, or I guess people use the term portfolio career. So I'm now really enjoying delving into those three things and feel like all three really speak to what I'm great at. And I did quite a lot of work trying to explore what gives me energy, what I love doing. I really reflected on asking myself all these questions, which I really recommend people do. If you're out there and you're thinking of making a career change, really take the time to ask yourself questions. What gives you energy? What puts you in your flow state? What are your strengths? What do you really want to lean into? what if you could design a perfect work day? What would that look like? And I was very lucky and fortunate that I could take the time to explore all of that. And really, I came out with these three things, which I'm enjoying doing.
I think listening to you speak, you're already in your element. Teaching at a university, coaching and mentorship. And basically, it really does go back to the very important point of what fuels you every day, what makes you wake up. Like for me, it's definitely content, talking, communicating. And I love doing that. And I saw what you did and I was like, I have to just listen to more of this story. I would say over the years, I've had my fair share of mentorship from you and it really worked. I remember everyone at CNN thinking they're being so secretive, meeting in the coffee shop just next door to the office, like no one can see them. And I'm like, mate, if someone is breaking news in the newsroom, get back in there now. But that's really quite a pivot because it must be like 18 years plus. I remember you telling me being a journalist. It's something really actually brave to do. And I think a lot of people flirt with that idea in their head all the time, but they haven't quite made that transition, either financial because it's their day-to-day job or just skills or just being able to flirt with the idea that just because you've done one career doesn't mean you don't have the runway to start another. And just listening to you, you said you've built this on a 1-year track pad. So I think what I'm trying to say is the skills of a journalist is so admirable in any communications environment, especially if you come across a journalist that's been in a breaking news one. I think they're just a different kind of breed, Annabelle.
Yeah.
So let's go a little bit deeper. Like, how did you make that switch? And I remember at the beginning of the conversation, you said you have a coaching partner or a mentor. Was it like training? Was it a website on Udemy? Or, I don't know. Everything that you've done by yourself, from rewiring your brain to having a whole new career.
Yeah.
And everything you've done by yourself, from mentorship, training, teaching, and then launching a website, that is a whole sort of beast itself. And I see the whole picture coming together for you lately. So talk me through that process. How do you actually make the switch? Is it the website first, the training first? What was Annabelle's adventure in the last year?
Well, I think so. What I did, first of all, I was very fortunate. I could afford to take some time off and decompress. And honestly, if you're in that lucky position, I really recommend taking that time, especially these high kind of powered, really intense news jobs. And there are plenty of intense jobs out there. It takes a long time to kind of come down from that. And so I was really fortunate. I took some time off, and that began to kind of allow me to ask myself all these key questions. And I really wanted to do that work. And so I did that. And then that was a really interesting process, right? A lot of self-reflection, some journaling. I started
a good journal. I love a good journal.
Love a journal. Started talking to a lot of people in my network. I set myself this goal of having like an in-person coffee with someone every single week. And really what that was about was not, please give me a job or give me work. But I mean, if they could, great. But it was more about picking their brains about their career journeys, about what they do, about whether they've ever made a sort of career shift. And I got great advice from people about LinkedIn posts, LinkedIn job searches, how to market myself, what courses I might be interested in trying. So really, I got so much out of just meeting up with lots of people and asking them questions. And really what came up for me was when I asked a lot of people, especially people I'd worked with really closely, what my strengths were, a lot of things came up that really resonated. So people said listening, mentoring, giving advice, writing, leadership. And when I thought about all those things, I thought, yeah, those are things that I really enjoy doing. That was a game changer. And also I also highly recommend asking people you work with what they see as your strengths when you're trying to identify what to lean into. And so I'd always wanted to try communications, which is obviously really closely related to journalism. A lot of journalists end up going into communications. A lot of the skills that we have as journalists are really, really appreciated in the communications world. Writing, storytelling, that kind of thing. I wanted to do a course because I love learning and, basically going back to school. So I did a course in strategic communications online, and that was great. And that really got me on the communications track. And then, the university lecturing.
Is that something you had to pay for? Like, can you recommend the course? Is it good?
Yeah, I did have to pay for it. I really recommended it. Recommend it. It was at LSE in London. It was online. It was really, the tuition was fantastic. It was really well delivered. I had a great peer group of people from all across the world who were doing this course. And there was quite a bit of in your own time work. And I think what it did, Elaine, is it really it made me a lot more confident speaking to people that I could do communications, right? So I knew the language.
It's ridiculous hearing that from you, because you've talked to world leaders and presidents, home ministers, and sometimes you just need I think maybe this course was just a reminder as well, because you've just been in the grind every day. When you enroll onto a course and you feel like the stuff, you're like, oh, I know this. Okay, this is the trajectory. Yeah.
I wanted to prove I was serious, because there's a lot of journalists who go into communications, and I didn't want to arrogantly think that I would be amazing at it.
Right.
And I wanted to understand the language and all the issues that are popping up in the communications world right now, so that I could go and meet people and sort of talk, I know what I'm talking about. So I found that very beneficial for me. And from that really did give me the confidence to be able to approach organizations that I wanted to work for. And I started getting freelance work, which was great. And then the university lecturing, I trained as a journalist at City University, and they asked if I'd come back and watch one of their live programs that the students put out every week. And I did, and I gave some feedback, and it was so energizing being around students. I found it really, just energizing. And they approach you at the end, and they're picking your brains for advice, and it's a good reminder of all that I'd achieved, and that.
Yeah, all the dots. When you say energized, I think the energy was connecting everything together, and you were finally have it. I think I'm probably, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it came to you by the mass, and that was exciting. You just see it. Normally you're still doing your everyday job, training that whoever the new intern, whoever the new person you're trying to move up the newsroom ladder, right? I would say once you are a journalist, it's just you know how to drive a stick for the rest of your life, right? Factual, editorial, that's just the basics of your beat. But then when you marry everything up that you're good with, it's truly magical for some of the skills that you bring from being a journalist. So, okay, let me ask you this. What is something that you miss and don't miss about the newsroom?
I miss colleagues. I miss the people I worked with.
Because it's very alone, you doing this new journey, right?
When you're freelance and sort of portfolio careers, and you're kind of on your own, really, you're obviously diving into, university life or coaching or comms work with different organizations. But I sort of always feel like when you're in a newsroom, there's some really special relationships that form, because we're all experiencing these massive world events together. And a lot of them are really tough. I think, really, really nice relationships form, work relationships with people. And I miss being surrounded by super smart, funny people like yourself, Elaine. And
mess. Absolute hot mess. I don't know how I survived it.
Hot mess. No, you weren't at all. I do remember dragging you to an edit suite to give you some advice one day, probably to tell you that you're a lot better than you think you were being.
It was great. Actually, you know what? Before you move on too quickly, when you talk about recognizing people's strengths, you talking to all the different people and they told you what you were good at. I think you nailed that on the head for me so much, because it took a big guess from, if you know him, you know him. His name is Chamath Palihapitiya, one of the big podcasters in tech and whatnot now. And, you know, it's rare for him to be in the UK. And he was in the studio and I brought him up as a guest. And then I think I was responsible for that research packet. And then, you know, it was a really good segment. We were talking about everything in the tech world from Silicon Valley in the Bay Area, which is where I'm based. And then you just looked at me and you said, you know what, Elaine, I think you've got something there with the tech beat. And then lo and behold, I held that so much because I was one of the very first person to help integrate the editing systems from moving from Final Cut Pro to Adobe. And essentially that's how I got the job on the team, because I was able to edit very quickly. And I liked that tech beat a lot. And then lo and behold, the next thing you know, I was working for, you know, crypto blockchain company, building community and broadcast. And then, you know, up until recently, working for the biggest cybersecurity company in the world, doing comms for them. And so I think that really etched into my brain. And I have you to thank for that, for sure.
Well, you did, you know, you've done so well, I think. But it is, I think you're right in that it is great when somebody just recognizes seeing you just delving into something which is just your thing, and
it's direction. It's great.
And sort of saying, yeah, this I think is your thing, and, you know, and encouraging you to kind of explore that more. And often that's, I think, what we do as coaches is we reflect things back to our coachees, right? That they maybe haven't really thought about, and we can dig into that a bit more. But I think that's one of the great things about having a coach is, you know, we might say these throwaway things, or we might kind of toy with an idea or a goal. But when you hear someone say your words back to you, or like maybe just give you a nudge in one direction, I think that's that's powerful. So
yeah, no, it's really magical. It kind of like connects the dots to, you know, when people, when like Beyonce delivers a big show, and then like Post Malone goes, Beyonce, just thank you for sharing your craft with us. And I feel like I can apply that to you with the services that you're offering now with coaching and mentorship and teaching. Thank you for making this available to people. Because I think once, who knows, in a year's time when we talk to each other, the army that you're going to build out in the world of communications is going to be wonderful. So now it's like go time, right? Essentially, I've seen the website up. People can actually have the process of reaching out to you. I don't know if you have a few clients or you've done a few. Like, what's been the most rewarding thing so far? Even if you have started this on a trajectory of going quick or going slow, what's been the most rewarding thing so far?
Honestly, I think just finally leaning into something that I think had been there for a long time, but I just hadn't quite recognized it.
Yeah.
And kind of, that's felt really good. I just suddenly made that decision that I was going to do a course in coaching and work. And I'm currently working towards becoming a certified coach. I think just really like embracing that I'm going to go for this and see what happens. So with the coaching, as I say, I'm working towards becoming certified. I do have clients, and eventually I want to become accredited with the ICF, which is the International Coaching Federation, which is a global coaching body. So I'm still training and learning, but it's great to be able to dive straight in and implement what I'm learning already. I think it's really interesting because a lot of people, I think often you can sort of think of a coach as like a sports coach, and that is not exactly what we do as coaches, right? So actually, it's worth kind of highlighting for people who are interested. Coaches in pure coaching terms, as defined by the ICF, is really non-directional, and it's basically, we talk about the client being the center, being the director, of their own life. So when I have a client, I'm not there saying, I think you should do this, this, and this. It's very much creating a space and asking the questions that allows the client to get there themselves and to come up with the options for achieving their goal, be it personal development or professional development. It's non-directional and it's non-judgmental as well. So, and I think that's such a great element of it, especially in our world, because there's so many opinions out there and there's so much advice. There's a podcast for everything. There's a book for everything. You can up the wazoo. You can read whatever. If you want to get fitter or, lose weight, or you want to, I don't know, learn how to play paddle, or you can, the internet means there's just everything out there, and it can be really overwhelming. And I think often that world makes us think that our voice and our instincts are not as good. And I think what's powerful about coaching is that we listen to what the client is telling us, and we reflect things back, and we might offer insights, and sometimes we might step out of pure coaching and offer, perhaps some thoughts from our own experience. But it's really getting the client to listen to their own voice and trust it, and work out their own way forward. So work out their own sat-nav route is kind of how we talk about it. But yeah.
You're ridiculous, Annabel Archer. Well, sorry, Annabel Deegan. That's after you got married. I was going to ask you the next question, like, why is it worth having a session with you? But I think you've nailed that. So we'll move on from that, because that was beautiful, and I think you're so right, is what I would say. Okay, so let's end it off on a good note. Where can people find you? Because I think when you say you work alone, I think a lot of people in this day and age are working alone. Individual freelancers, not just in journalism, but when they work for think tanks or communications powerhouses. I think you've set yourself in a space, in a niche that's so important in this day and age right now. So where can people find you, and what can they expect during a first one-to-one?
So AnnabelDeegan.com is my website, and you asked about website. I had a lot of excellent help from my husband, who is much better at these things than me. On that website, that details my coaching work, my consultancy work, and essentially for coaching, what it works is you would basically come to me for a block of sessions. So we as coaches believe that like one-off coaching is not going to be the most beneficial, right? So kind of real change takes time. And so we like to work with clients for a minimum of 6 sessions. So you would buy a block of 6 sessions, and I always offer clients like a free discovery call, no obligation to go forward. But that is really important, because that explains what coaching is, what coaching isn't, and what you can expect from me as a coach, and what I would expect from you as a coachee. And it's also just to see whether, we would be a good fit. And then if you're happy to move on and excited for coaching, then I send an agreement and a contract, and we get going on our sessions. So they're about 45 minutes to 1 hour, 1 hour max, because I believe that, anything over an hour starts to feel quite intense. And yeah, it's great. It's exciting to work with people and see and help them, achieve their goals, and really help them I don't know, it sounds so cheesy, but yeah,
no, I
show up as the best version of themselves, I think.
No, I think, look, anyone who gets to reach out to you, I mean, despite your beautiful English accent, you are so global and international that anyone can reach out to you. And I think if people do come across you, just know how much you care is something that I can vouch for, just knowing you for so long, and how you can move forward with a sense of direction. I think that's what Annabel Deegan is able to provide, and I hope that's what you're going to give out to your mentees. And I'm so excited for you to go on this journey. So I just want to thank you for spending a bit of time with me today and just telling me what you're up to. So I appreciate you, Annabel.
Well, thank you so much, Elaine. And I've written a blog all about my new career chapter, how I made it from CNN to then setting up on my own. And that's on my website, AnnabelDeegan.com. So you can read all about that. Yeah, really would love to hear from anyone who is interested in coaching, and very happy to share my experience on setting up a new career chapter with anyone.
Yeah, love that for you. Next thing you know, she's got entrepreneur underneath her title in her belt. Well, thanks, Annabel, and take care, and I'll see you soon, and I'll look forward to having more chats with you.
Thanks, Elaine.